Welcome back to a new movie review here on the Gook Report. As I decided now to make a tradition whenever I do a movie review, I'll be wearing a Blockbuster shirt. So, with that said, in today's review, looking at a much more recent movie release. And this time, looking at the film Morbius. As I'm sure you know by now, Morbius, based on comic book character, basically introduced throughout specifically Spider-Man universe, as he was always, or at least the Morbius I grew up with, I should say, was originally, I was first introduced to the Michael Morbius character in the 1990s Spider-Man the Animated Series, which was around for 5 seasons. I believe it was, I forget if it was season 2 or season 1 or 2. But the Michael Morbius character would be introduced to, would be interested in the character Felicia Hardy, which of course later on would become the character Black Hat. But now this take on the Michael Morbius character is very different, as in the animated show he had like basically mouth suction cup things on his hands, and they would say that he absorbed people's plasma because you couldn't say blood on like a TVY7 show rated 7 and up. It was not considered suitable according to the FCC guidelines. Which is why when you see guns and stuff in the animated series, you would see like laser beam guns, not regular bullets and stuff. But anyways, off topic, on the actual movie, Morbius, done by of course Sony Pictures, as they obviously own the movie rights to the Spider-Man universe, which entails all characters that revolve really around Spider-Man. So whether it be Venom, Carnage, as well as other characters, Morbius included. I will say, first off the bat, on the Morbius film, I actually like it. I don't think it deserves the hate or the blasting that online internet critics and others have given it. In my opinion, I think it's probably one of the more underrated films in the past year, arguably. It is, as of right now, it is probably my number one favorite movie of the year so far. I have, though, to be fair, I have only seen probably about 5 or 6 films so far this year in theaters. So, with that said, though, I would probably give second place right now to maybe Top Gun Maverick. But with that said, Morbius played, of course, in this film by the actor known as, well, see, that's the thing. I have a hard time originally first embracing this film just because of my personal feelings towards the actor who plays Michael Morbius, that being obviously the egomaniac that is. Ugh, that is Jared Leto. This guy has an enormous head. And it doesn't help the fact he has a band, which I'm personally not a fan of, called 30 Seconds to Mars. But with that said, now with the character Morbius, I'll be honest, actually, surprisingly, I enjoyed Jared Leto in this. I actually thought he definitely took this role more seriously than he did the Joker role in, of course, Suicide Squad, which is still a guilty pleasure movie of mine. But that's it. I actually really enjoyed, surprisingly, Jared Leto's performance as the Michael Morbius character. He does a good job showing that he is obviously weak and stuff. We also early on see he is at this prep or like boys' school, basically, for I guess you could say orphan children or boys with specific health issues. And the one who plays the main doctor in it, great job, specifically great actor they chose. But for me, one of the big surprises and standouts of this film, even though I really enjoyed Leto, surprisingly, as Morbius character, I especially loved the actor who played his friend in the film, adult version. Best well known is probably the 11th Doctor in the series Doctor Who, that being Matt Smith, which is actually a very big key character in this film, as well as big actor. I would say probably got the second most screen time in the film, right behind Leto. And I thought the Matt Smith character actually stole a lot of scenes he was in. I thought he genuinely was great. Um, it is interesting to see this interpretation of the Michael Morbius character from the comic books, as he is very much somewhat different in the comics, but I expect that with live action adaptations, really, and comic book film. And I still think they did a superb job. The special effects in this movie are top notch. Like, I think some of the effects in this, especially with Morbius, like teleportation ability he gains, like certain spots and stuff, kind of remind me almost um, like that awesome like action scene at the beginning of X-Men 2, X-Men United with Nightcrawler. That was great and awesome in my opinion. I love the effect also when he ended up learning the ability how to end up fly. Also the effects they would use for him using his abilities like echolocation was great, and eventually he would figure out the ability to also fly, which is really cool. But I think one of the best things is the final big showdown of Morbius film, because there is a woman obviously in a love interest for the character of Michael Morbius that I actually thought she was pretty good for the most part in the film. That she was definitely a side character that was obvious, just a love interest, but the actress they chose actually at least tried to give an actual decent performance. So I appreciate that, because you don't always get that with a lot of the love interest characters in many comic book films, even more current day. A few of the only exceptions I would say of that role is people like uh, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, or I forget her name, the actress's name, plays Pepper Potts. But never mind. But the ultimate like big showdown between, because he ends up stealing the serum that Morbius creates, to which transforms him obviously into a vampire. We see briefly him as more of a bat than a man. I guess you could say a Batman or whatever. But the actual action scenes, you could tell they had to censor down some of the more violent parts when killing people and stuff in his vampire form. Um, you could definitely tell it was cut down in the violence department, but even so, still, I actually think the action scenes, especially pushing the PG-13 rating to its actual limit, in my opinion, on some of those scenes, they really push the envelope harder than anything I would expect the MCU to do. So I appreciate that. At least DC and Sony actually tried to really push the PG-13 envelope harder than pretty much anyone else seems to be willing to push the envelope. But with that said, that final action scene though of the film is just amazing. Between the Matt Smith character, which becomes a vampire like Morbius, the action scenes are great. The special effects with the actual bats that he implements and uses echolocation stuff to be able to manipulate and control the bats in order to attack the character by Matt Smith. I personally thought overall, though, the action scenes was superb in the film. There was a few issues here and there, but for the most part, I thought the pacing was pretty good overall. I liked most of the music also in the film, and I would say the mid slash post credit scenes, which there's two of them, are definitely worth going through the credits, especially the final scene. Just because I won't give it all away or what they say, but getting to see face to face Michael Keaton's Vulture coming face to face, meeting Jared Leto, Michael Morbius, that was just awesome in my opinion. And arguably, this has come from someone though who is a diehard fan of Michael Keaton and have been since, well, I don't know how long, since Beetlejuice. But with that said, it is nice and great to see the Vulture character back and seeing him end up teleported into the world as you learn that he is from another world, obviously in effect from the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. So that was great. And that also obviously affected also Venom's world because they weren't like all from originally the same world. So it is really cool seeing more of the effects from Spider-Man No Way Home, which is a film I may look about in the future reviewing, though I'll probably want to do all three films in proper order. But overall, at the end of the day, do I think Morbius is worth watching? 100% I do. Though there's a few little tiny issues here and there, for the most part, like I said, music is great. I think the acting, for the most part, is solid across the board. And Leto actually seems to be at least taking the role serious. And I thought Matt Smith did superb job in the film as well. I really enjoyed the back and forth quarrel and arguing and stuff between the two. So with that said, at the end of the day, I have to give Morbius a flat A, not an A plus, but a flat A. I think it's definitely more than worth your time watching. Get a chance, check out Morbius. If you have, leave a comment. What's your thoughts? What was your favorite part, or if you have issues with the film, what are the specific problems you have with the film? As a stand, this is coming from someone who's though been a Spider-Man fan of the comics and stuff, and has appreciated the Morbius character for well over 20 plus years. So with that said, I'll see y'all again soon. The same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. See you again soon on the Google Report, and leave a comment. Mention to me maybe another comic book film or another movie you'd like me to do a review of in the future. But I'll see y'all soon enough, and hopefully enjoy the music in the background.